Hey there, our plans for the No Sew Stuffy are first to get out your supplies. You need hot glue gun. Hot glue gun. Oh, let's have the little guy here. Hey, hot glue gun, don't forget. Fabric. Some people use an old sock. I use an old t-shirt. What else do you need? Can you guys read it on here? You definitely need a Sharpie marker for the eyes.
See my eyes? It was first drawn with a Sharpie. Then Mrs. Smith went over the eyes and beak just with a little bit of acrylic.
Okay, little Owlson. All right, and you need some scissors. So let's get started and let's look at our inspirational artist.
Okay, let's fly over here. Even though I'm an owl, I can fly a little bit. Doo-doo-doo.
Let's come on over here to our art history wall. And you can see the inspirational artist. Can we see it? Let's zoom in. Yes, Munch the Scream. You can see his big eyes and his mouth are very bold. And you can look at that, art teachers and students. To actually zoom in, you can see I used my Sharpie to make the eyes and mouth even a little more bold to be an inspiration for our bold characters here that we're going to make for our No Sew Stuffy. All right, first thing is to make plans. So first, cut fabric out of an old t-shirt. So what are you going to use? Here's my old t-shirt. All right, next, hot glue inside out. Step 2. Step 3, you're going to cut the stuffing. You can use beans to do a beanie baby, rice, real polyfill stuffing. I'm going to cut strips of fabric, crumple it up for my stuffing, and then use a Sharpie for the eyes and features. All right, so I suggest you do some internet search. Here were my little plans from the internet. I did the owl. You could see my little owl based on plans. Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo. And all I did was fold a flap over the bottom and did a little bit of yellow for the feet. I decided not to do a circle on the bottom. Some puppeteer and stuffed animal artists do a circle on the bottom. Then I'm going to do the dog today, and then coming up will be the panda. All right, some of my students I know are going to be like, how can I get this shape? So what you can do is draw it on a piece of paper. What you want to draw, use the internet for real animals, and once you get the shape, you can lay it on where you're going to cut it out in the fabric. So I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to flip it inside out, then hot glue gun it, okay? Those are your steps. So decide where. I'm going to put this little owl over here on the side to watch us. It's going to probably slide around. Wah! All right, keep the owl over here. So where you're going to cut it out, if you're better at plans, lay it so you can see what shape it's going to be, and leave a little bit around the edge. So I'm going to leave a kind of a lot to make him like a hand grip stress release dog, and I'm going to keep the plans over here, and I'm going to look at it, just glance at it. I don't really need it on here. If you're going to put it on your fabric, I suggest you either do what they do, sewing, pin it, or you can use masking tape if you're working with a class that does not need to be using needles like younger kids. Definitely you can use masking tape and tape on your shape and cut it out with it on there. But you can see I'm just doing it by eye because doesn't have to be precise. It kind of has a little character you could see with our little tuft, what are those called on owls? Who knows your animal kingdom? All right, those little tufts, are they called? His little the horned owl. All right, so I'm going to slowly go around. I'm doing the head. I've got some big floppy ears from my dog today, which are different than when I went straight up with the owl yesterday for the tuft ears. All right, so I'm looking at my dog. Sometimes you got to go with whatever's easier for you to cut. I'm going to cut right off the edge so I can then work with not the whole t-shirt, with the fabric. Now it's going to be easier because you're going to be able to rip it. So you have that one ear in the cut. I'm going to work on the other ear. I want my front and back to be symmetrical, and down the body. Now I'm going to plump him out in the middle and then get thin again on the end. All right, so here's the rough shape. Now that you have the shape of your animal, of your stuffy, we are going to flip it inside out, and we're going to hot glue gun the inside. Now this time I kept the bottom by the seam. You don't have to. Last time I folded up and pinched in the seam to make it stronger on the bottom. Some people tie it in a knot, put a circle on the bottom. So you get to, I mean, there's lots of how-tos on YouTube. This one is ready, so it's inside out, okay? So, all right, now that it's inside out, and I have that over there, let me scoot over what'll be my stuffing and get what can be dangerous if you get it on your fingers. Please be careful with the hot glue gun. All right, so the hot glue gun you want to get ready, and you're gonna then, I'm gonna start with the ears today. Yesterday I ended with the ears. And I'm gonna get some hot glue gun and I'm gonna flip over the fabric without touching it with my finger. Sometimes it's good to use an extra glue stick so you don't burn your finger. This is my biggest fear actually as a teacher, is my students will get their fingers burnt. So I try to have them use something, maybe a wood stick, a chopstick works great, something other than their finger to press down to have the glue from the hot glue gun stay. So it's not their finger they're burning. Okay, now I'm gonna go down the side with the hot glue. Ooh, and you're gonna decide where you're gonna keep your opening, don't forget, because the fact that you're gonna have to flip this back right side in from inside out. Now I have seen people fold that in. I think it's just easier to give it a little room and flip over from the other side and fold it from the other side over, like you're gonna close an envelope. Now if you press on it, it's not that hot if you go from the other side, but if you feel the heat at all, use your stick and press it so you're not gonna get burned. That's actually probably an ideal way to press it. See that hot glue? On the other side, you wanna get your little bit of fabric, fold it over and press it. I think is easier than folding the side that has the hot glue gun on it. And then you can see I'm able to press. I have a little gap there. If you see a little gap, just get your hot glue gun, just like you would in sewing. If you're gonna hand sew this and you have sewing skills, go for it. Okay, but if you are in a class like mine where you probably someone's gonna poke themselves with a needle, then don't, all right? So I have half of that done at the seam. I'm gonna decide how much I'm gonna go before I put it right side in from inside out, because I wanna then pull it inside out and stuff it with some strips. I'll put my little owl here to watch us. Right, hey little guy, doo-doo-doo. And remember, you are inspired by the featured artist, Munch, for the Scream over there on my art history wall because of the big features, of the big bold eyes. This guy might even look a little scared. I think he looks funny. But my husband, Tiger Smith, said, he looks kind of scared. Can you make him smile? Well, owls have a beak, but the good thing is my dog today, we can make him smile. And if you're doing an animal that has a mouth that doesn't have a beak, it'd probably be a lot easier to make him smile. All right, for this side, I am going to make sure I could see the seam. I'm showing you different ways of doing this. There's really no wrong way. You as an artist, you're gonna be creative. And the cool thing about using a t-shirt, my friends, is that we are now recycling. Instead of throwing out an old shirt, or some of you guys are like me, like donate it to places like thrift stores or Goodwill, different cool charities, you can now recycle a shirt. An old sock, I've seen this done with fuzzy socks, then your animal looks all fuzzy, you know those fuzzy ones? If you have fuzzy socks, you probably don't even need to cut it at all. You just fill the thing, flip it inside out. It's probably the easiest way and probably the way you can find a lot of videos how to make a stuffed animal out of an old sock on YouTube. And I'm just letting you know that's out there. If you're using a sock, it'd be easy. But once you make one and people say, oh, that's so cute, can you make me one? And you see like the design of an old shirt that you really like the design of is really pretty or cool. Or maybe you have a sports team, like yours says Giants, and that could be San Francisco Giants where I lived, or New York Giants where also I lived. All right, so now we have it enclosed. I've left the top area where the head's going to be, so I can now carefully put it from inside out to right side in. Some people like doing so with a stick, like a little chopstick if you had one, okay? So we got it right side in. Now to make it stand, I'm gonna put more puffing on the bottom. So what I'm gonna do, and remember this was our plan, you wanna use your plans. I like cutting strips or stripes of fabric because I have babies in my family. And if I did this with the beans, which is fun if you're gonna have it and you're old enough for your room, and then I crumple up the strips to make them kind of soft and puffy so they're not all flat going in, and I try to push them in to the areas that I want large. You can see how much I did that here versus here. So I got a little more to go. All right, so if you have little babies in your family and you're gonna make a beanie baby for the baby, I suggest putting the beans in a plastic Ziploc bag, give it a little air to gush around, and then put it in, because in case someone goes, poo, poo, and bust the seam of your animal, you don't want beans flying everywhere, or rice for that matter. So I'm just trying to have you guys think about who you're making it for. Crumple up your strips, okay, nice and soft and crumply, and then stuff your animal. If you're using fabric, I think it's probably safer than even polyfill, because polyfill, if you get that stuffing out and a little kid swallows it, or my dog for that matter, my dogs always get the polyfill out of animals that they love to chew up, and then it's all over, and I'm afraid there's a Daisy, my yellow Labrador, or Chica, my Boston Terrier, could. And now you can just use your strength. Once you get a couple cuts, you could have fun and go, and use your strength and rip strips to finish up using your fabric as stuffing if you're doing the fabric stuffing. All right, I'm a little closer to the end here. Now this is where hopefully you're joining in and we're doing this together. If you're playing this lesson video, your teacher and you can pause it, replay, and we could go through this together. So sometimes it's nice to watch the whole lesson, then go at your own pace. Then if you're like, how did that teacher do that? Then you could always replay it, because I know some of you guys are like, oh, I forget, or you're zoning out and you don't hear the whole lesson. So you want to get your stuffing in there. And I like having these little ones that fit in your hand, also called the stretch relief balls, right, size. So I'm doing this one a little bit smaller. It could even be a keychain size if you use your hot glue and put a little, attach a little keychain to the top. All right, almost up at the ears. Let's get this baby done so we can get you guys all started. And then you could see how I'm gonna use my source, my internet search, and do some big bulgy eyes inspired by the Scream, where we have the featured artist, Munch, who did get famous for expressing his emotions. And he had some losses, and he was able to express himself in art. And that is the goal, to have you guys have some self-expression and personal expression in art, to get to express yourself. And are you going to tattoo a little circle on the back and put like a hope, your theme, or peace, or something that's inspirational to you, or sign it? That's all part of the fun of when you customize it with your Sharpie, which is coming up. All right, so I am now where I'm going to make sure I can have this little guy stand. He's going to stand right on my owl. If not, I'm going to push and gush him together. Now I'm going to I don't want him so stuffed. I like to have a little bit of gush. I don't know, it's up to you now how much stuffing you want to put in. I am ready to close the head and have the floppy ears. It's just like my plan. I'm going to have the ears flop around. All right, so I'm going to add just a little more teeny strip near the ears. Teeny little piece. So you get to decide how much of your t-shirt, or this is where if you have a stained old shirt, it's great for the stuffing. All right, now when I'm up at the ears, I am going to do the fold over and use the hot glue gun. All right, so we're on the hot glue gun. I have my ear here is a little smaller than one in the back, so I'm going to start layering the glue, flip this ear over, and press it down with my glue stick so I don't get burned. Remember, the glue stick could start sticking to the other glue. It would probably be better to use a wood chopstick, but you do what you got to do. Use what you can. Okay, so I have one floppy ear. See, I did a little bit of extra fabric so the ear could flop around like a doggy. Now I'm going to do this area. We're going to make sure that stuffing's in there, and make sure this ear, before I glue, you want to have it all laid out. Oh, that's the stuffing. I'm going to stuff that ear, stuff it down. I'm going to do my glue there, and then I'm going to flip it over. Actually, decide which way is the front. I think that's going to be the front, because you want the flip over the seam to be in the back. Okay, so decide your cuter side of your t-shirt, if you're doing a t-shirt, or whatever side of your fabric you've chosen to be the side you want to be the front. Then you're going to get the seam, like you see me doing, and flip over and have it, the closure in the back. Okay, ooh. So this is the harder part, I think, closing the whole thing, to have the flip over closure in the back. Be careful not to burn yourself. Ah, ooh, right? That's what you'll all be saying if you burn yourself. And so I'm gonna put a little more glue right in there to hold the seam closed. And then I'm gonna use my hot glue gun and roll and press. Okay, roll and press. The glue stick it does ruin a glue stick if you're gonna use a glue stick to press. If you, like I said, you have a chopstick or a tongue depressor popsicle stick, that would work great. All right, so my back is slowly drying. Here's the front of my dog. Now it doesn't even look like a dog yet. I need my features, and this is where I'm going to use the Sharpie. And I'm gonna have you as well decide, where do you want your two eyes? I like doing them really big. I like to circle in the middle for the eye, circle and circle. And then I like to go around it, and this is where we're gonna then end by looking at Edvard Munch again from the Romantic period, the 1800s, and how he used Impressionism, made an impression for sure. Unlike Monet and Van Gogh, he didn't show his, well, he did show his brushstrokes and his layering, but he was more famous for showing emotion. All right, now the nose. And now this is where I'm gonna, excuse me, have my little doggy smiling. And I'm gonna put a little circle around that. And then to do the little belly, you could see what I did when I'm gonna add my little finishing touches. I'm gonna clump his little head down a little more, shape it. Probably, now that I see it sticking up like that, a little bit more like, who's that guy called? The scary guy with the green face? Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. I'm gonna probably fold that down and add a little more glue right now because I'm adding some final touches and shaping my stuffy. So I'm gonna fold that down and press. Okay, so the back, I might add a little, if I have a bandana at home or a headband, you could add a little bit of personality. Now you could see the only thing I need to do now is, what I did was I dunked my paintbrush into some white acrylic, and then I spread it around the eyes. I did a little yellow there, and then when I wiped off my brush, I went around the curve just to show a little bit of a fade. So as we finish your stuffy animals, can't wait to see yours, and hopefully you have fun recycling. We will end over and out from my art classroom with the famous inspirational artist who we were looking at, Edvard Munch. Let's zoom into the screen and see how I made the eyes pop like in our little animals. And I'd like to say over and out from this art lesson. Can't wait to see yours. Post them on Artsonia.